The Kentucky Wildcats should consider leaving the Southeastern Conference. You heard me. Hi everybody, I'm Marky Bilson. Seems like a drastic move, huh? And why would you do it? The way the Gator Bowl bid went down. Now, I'm not a big bowl game fan. I think that bowl games have become almost like Special Olympics trophies. There are far too many of them. You're really only interested in a bowl game if your team is playing in it. But in the way that the hierarchy goes, the Gator Bowl is still somewhat attractive, and certainly more attractive than the Music City Bowl or the Belk Bowl. Belk Bowl isn't even keeping their sponsor after this past year, and frankly, yes, in the depths of the winter, would you rather be in Jacksonville or a more northern clime like Charlotte or Nashville? Well, there you go. Anyway, if you're not familiar with how it broke down originally, the original plan for the Gator Bowl was for Kentucky to play Indiana. Nice matchup. I mean, certainly it would be a great basketball matchup, but it has a football appeal as well, SEC, Big Ten, that sort of thing. But at the last minute, the Gator Bowl somehow, someway became Tennessee versus Indiana. And Kentucky then was given the Belk Bowl against Virginia Tech. So what happened is that this made Kentucky football look second fiddle. Now, for the record, I think Tennessee has the better claim to the superior bowl. After all, both teams were 7-5. Tennessee defeated Kentucky this year, and historically, Tennessee always beats Kentucky, right? All but 2 times since 1984. So, I mean, we get that, all right, However, it is just the way that this broke down. And if I'm Eli Capilouto, the president of Kentucky, or the athletic director, Mitch Barnhart, I've got to tell the SEC, unacceptable. We are not going to be second fiddle, because if you allow your football program to be second fiddle, which, frankly, Kentucky football has been over the majority of its history, then you're not going to escape being second fiddle. So you can't stand for that if you're Kentucky. And the thing is, Kentucky has a nice brand. Obviously, it's the most prestigious basketball program in the SEC. So you can use that as leverage to say, never, ever again. Because what would the SEC be without Kentucky for basketball? It would lose. I know Florida's won a national title. Arkansas has. You lose everything about SEC basketball if you lose Kentucky. And imagine if, let's say, the ACC would pick up Kentucky. I mean, can you imagine in-conference rivalry, Louisville against Kentucky? It's already pretty big, but if it was in the conference, I think it would exceed North Carolina Duke, because Duke is still a private school in North Carolina that really doesn't have that large of a fan following in North Carolina. There's a reason why Cameron Indoor Stadium doesn't hold 10,000 folks. And it's because in North Carolina, nobody really roots for Duke. Traditionally, all the white-collar people root for North Carolina. All the blue-collar people, the farmers and such, they root for NC State. Now, maybe that's changed a little bit over the last generation and a half because Duke's been elite and NC State hasn't. But still, it would suggest that in time, Louisville, Kentucky would be a bigger rivalry than Duke, North Carolina, if Kentucky were ever to join the ACC. Certainly you'd think it could be more competitive in football in the ACC. And also, you would be going to a conference that for TV market purposes, now I realize the SEC network is more profitable at this time, but give it time. The bigger markets are in the ACC network. The other idea is, of course, the Big Ten, and again, the basketball brand of Kentucky. Would that be intriguing to the Big Ten? Possibly. You could absolutely see that. And also, I think that it would be easier for Kentucky to win in the Big Ten than in the SEC in football. Yes, and I know it's because it just means more in the SEC for football. But think about this. They'd be the southernmost team in the Big Ten, and that would help with recruiting. So that's the way that I would look at it. Now, I'm not suggesting automatically that Eli Capilouto, because of a bowl bid, pick up and kill all this tradition and say, absolutely, we're out of here. Who wants us? I'm saying that I would go to the SEC and say this is absolutely unacceptable. We are not going to play second fiddle to any program in any sport, and if we are ever treated this way again, yeah, we've got a brand and we will pursue it. Might even suggest doing that publicly. It would really, really prove that Kentucky is serious about football, in my opinion. I'm Marky Bilson.